Go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the third episode of the It's More Than Just a Game podcast, where I, Liam Murray, and Declan Kenny take a look at the sporting action over the past week. For the second episode of our double basketball releases tonight, we'll be taking a look at the NBA trade deadline, which happened yesterday. I've always said this, the NBA trade signing periods, they're the most exciting times of the entire season, and I stand by that opinion. Raptors, the 2019 NBA champions, they were great from around 2014 to 2020. They really sold off some major pieces of their team. Kyle Lowry remains the only standing Raptor from the 2016 run to the conference finals, where they beat Indiana in round one, and Miami. Many expected Lowry to get dealt. Surprised here. I think he should have. I think it would be better for the organization if he did. But now the tank for Cade Cunningham starts.
So the Raptors made they made a somewhat big deal, and then they made a couple minor deals. So we're just go over the Raptors trades first, and then we'll go over some of the major trades. The somewhat major trades that occurred yesterday. So the first trade that happened yesterday, that's the Toronto Raptors traded Norman Powell to the Portland Trailblazers for Gary Trent Jr. and Rodney Hood. I think this is pretty good. I think it was an okay trade. I really like Gary Trent Jr. I think he's quite underrated, and he's been really good in Portland. Rodney Hood is just totally a salary cap or salary. Yeah. That was the only way that we were getting Gary Trent Jr. is if they sent Rodney Hood along with him. Norman Powell has been playing a really good season. Sad to see him go, but I think we are moving away from him. So yeah.
Yeah, I like the trade. I feel it's necessary as well. Like I'm a big supporter. Contrary to what some think, I'm a big supporter of when you're not a championship contender team and you've tried multiple times, you either A, do what the Raptors did and get a superstar, or blow it up.
Yeah.
And I think they did the right thing a few years ago with Kawhi Leonard, won them a championship, and now they're doing the right thing minus the Lowry's entire situation. You got to blow it up. And they somewhat did here today. Norman Powell probably going to leave in free agency unless the Raptors gave him a good deal of money. Hopefully Lowry stays. But I like Gary Trent Jr. It's a piece for the future.
Yeah.
As well, hopefully to pair with Cade Cunningham, which I'm still hoping they can get him.
Yes.
But I like it. I like the trade. Again, it's the Raptors did what they should have done. Masai Ujiri, one of the best general manager, but the best team builders and also general managers, presidents in the league, once again showing why he is.
Yeah. And this another trade that the Raptors did, they traded Matt Thomas to the Utah Jazz for a future second round pick. Not too much here, I think. Yeah. Minor trade deal. I believe they were freeing up some space just in case they did get a decent offer for Kyle Lowry, which would have included multiple players to create some roster space for that. Not too much of that trade, I think. Yeah.
Again, like the upcoming Terence Davis trade, minor deals, second round picks aren't valued too high, I think, than other leagues. So it's a very minor trade. The Jazz are expecting Thomas to play, I guess, a big role a decent role off the bench, as they hope to stop LeBron, Davis, and the road to the NBA Finals. Hopefully, win. He could be a good bench pickup there for the Jazz.
Yeah, for sure. And the last trade that the Raptors did yesterday, they traded guard Terence Davis to the Sacramento Kings for a future second round pick. Also, Davis is averaging 6.9 points in 34 games for this season. This is just another minor trade. I do think Terence Davis, this was a necessary trade. I just needed a change of scenery, obviously due to the allegations he had against him and some of the charges he had brought out against him this season. I believe I would compare this to actually the Roberto Osuna trade with the Blue Jays a few years back. Just need a change of scenery, I think.
Which is unfortunate because these players, if they really are wife beaters or sexual assault people, whatever, they really shouldn't be in the league.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate how one trade gets you to go. Like Osuna is now one of the most hated players in the entire league due to other stuff, and funny plays on the most hated team in the MLB, which is fitting. But I'll say this one, the big trade, one of three maybe big trades. Orlando, who they blew it up.
Yeah.
They blew it up. Really disappointing. They got some really good young players back a few years ago, and it just never worked out. They traded All-Star center Nikola Vucevic and Al Farouk Aminu to the Chicago Bulls for Otto Porter Jr., Wendell Carter Jr., and 2 first-round picks. It's a huge addition for Chicago. They were at the time in pursuit of Lonzo Ball. Now the Magic are moving towards a second rebuild in the past 10 years. And, they'll hope to go better, have it work out better this time. They had some good players. They got it Oladipo at one point a few years ago. They had Ibaka, I'm pretty sure at one point.
Yeah.
They had a decent core, just never really worked out.
Yeah. And yeah, they're rebuilding again, which is clear with some of the deals that they did make yesterday. Yeah, I think one question about them going into the trade deadline was whether they were going to rebuild, because there were questions around certainly Aaron Gordon, some questions around Vucevic, not as much, but there were certainly questions, and as well as Evan Fournier, and they traded all 3 of those guys. So we know the direction that they are going to be going.
In terms of the return they got, I like it. I like the 2 first-round picks. They should be mid-late rounds, round picks, unless Chicago something right. I really like pairing Levine with Vucevic. I really, really like that team. It's pretty darn good in the Eastern Conference. Will they have enough to beat Brooklyn, Miami, Boston? No.
No.
Milwaukee, no, but they are a good team that could cause upset. I really like it.
Yeah. Another trade that happened yesterday, the Houston Rockets, the lowly Houston Rockets, they have gone downhill this year.
Yeah, that is, I'll mention the return after, but go on.
Yeah. They are sending Victor Oladipo to the Miami Heat. The Heat will rather send back Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and 2022 first round swap rights in exchange for Oladipo.
Yeah, the Houston Rockets miserably failed with the Harden situation. Their return compared to what Oklahoma got, which they are really set for the future. It's one of the only teams that actually are committed to drafting to rebuild, contrary to what the entire league does. But they did not get enough for James Harden. I know this is not, Harden didn't get traded at the deadline, but he was traded this year, and the return was horrific. Immediately dealing Oladipo for Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, at first round swap rights. Nothing against Bradley and Olynyk. I cannot say his name. They're good, decent players, but they're nothing compared to what James Harden was for that team. Missing on 30, shots, threes in that, missing 33s in that game 7 against the Warriors a few years back. That was the death of their franchise. That was the death of their golden era. That right there.
Yeah. The Houston Rockets they're blowing up as well. They received Oladipo this year, and they thought they might give it another run, obviously without Harden. With him,
failed. They lost
and
of course they beat the Raptors.
Failed. They went on one of the longest losing streaks in NBA history. I think it was something like 20 games or something like that.
After having Westbrook, Harden failed, they got rid of him.
Yeah, and they're not going to be very good.
A lot of Rockets fans on Twitter, especially, not happy with the return for Harden. I sympathize with them.
Yeah, and even in the return for Oladipo, it wasn't that good.
Yeah, it's not. I think. I will say for Miami, it's a great deal. It's a lot better than I think what the Raptors were asking for Lowry. I think Oladipo, younger than Lowry, maybe not better, maybe not as experienced, but still a really solid player. I think the Raptors wanted Harrow, and they said no, and the Raptors like, you know what? No Harrow, no deal.
Exactly. Yeah. I really like that fit for Miami. I think it's going to be a great fit for Oladipo there. Miami is obviously looking to advance, make a decent playoff run, and defend their Eastern Conference championship. And the Celtics, another deal that happened, the Boston Celtics acquired Orlando Magic guard Evan Fournier for 2 second-round picks. Fournier is in the final season of his 5-year, $85 million deal that he signed in 2016, and his $17 million salary would fit into the trade exception that the Celtics did create in the offseason when they had a sign and trade for Gordon Hayward to the Hornets.
Yeah, this deal again is good. It's 2 second-round picks from seeing in the NBA. That's literally nothing.
Yeah.
Orlando blew it up. Fournier is a great shooter. He'll really help Boston, who've really been weird this year. They've had some good stretches, some horrible stretches. They'll look to go back into the playoffs and hopefully get to the Eastern Conference Final again, where they lost to Miami. I think they can, but I don't think they will. I think that conference is Milwaukee, and
Yeah.
Brooklyn's to lose really.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, the other major deals here were the Orlando Magic and Denver Nuggets had a big trade with one of my former favorite players in the league, Aaron Gordon, and Gary Clark to Denver. Um, Gary Harris, a rookie guard, RJ Hampton, and a protected 2025 first-round picker headed to Orlando. I love the fit with Aaron Gordon to Denver. Like I said, one of my favorite players. Great dunker, especially in the dunk contest a few years ago. Really like that trade. And Orlando again, they rebuilt, they failed, and now they're going right back to, which I think is also the right decision. If a team is not even making the playoffs with what you saw was your rebuilt core, it's time to blow it up, and they did the right thing. Denver are a good team as well, trying to stop LeBron and AD.
Yeah, I like this trade for Denver. I think it's a fantastic fit for them. I like Aaron Gordon. Them looking for a chance to contend, obviously. They really want to get over the hump and get to the finals. I like their core. It sucks that they did have to send Gary Harris um, to Orlando because I think he's a great defender. He's a good player, but obviously you have to give up some key pieces to get a player like Aaron
And
Gordon.
Aaron Gordon is still very young.
Yeah, he's still very young, and yeah, I think it's a great move for the Nuggets, who are definitely looking to contend this year. Um, Obviously that core with Jokic, Murray, and the other players. And I think this puts them in at a way better position to win the championship than they were in
Yeah,
previously. And I think they're going to take off, and hopefully they will take off in the second half of the season because I actually really do like the Nuggets.
yeah, I do too. Canadian influence there.
Yeah,
Um, then decent trade, but still a bit minor. The next three moves. The Atlanta Hawks finalized the deal to send Rajon Rondo to the LA Clippers in exchange for Lou Williams and two future second-round picks. Rondo, a two-time NBA champ, led to the Clippers team, who's been searching for an upgrade at that position all year. More help for Kawhi and Co. out there, George. Um, I'll say with Harden, the Paul George, what Oklahoma got for him, should have been near to what they Harden went for. Oklahoma, still on this topic with the Clippers, they are really set for the future. And I won't be surprised though if they do draft some great players and then towards the end of these bigs do trade for a superstar. But I
yeah,
like what they've done. And I think
yeah.
this is a good trade. Clippers, I still don't really like them in that conference. I think it's again LeBron's and company to lose, but we'll see what happens.
I like this deal. I like Rajon Rondo to the Clippers. He's back in LA now. I like the veteran presence in the locker room. And more help for Kawhi and Paul George down there. But Lou Williams leaving, that's a pretty big hit because he is one of the best. He is the best six man in the league, actually, in my opinion. But that's a big hit for the Clippers. But I think they will make up for it. And Rajon Rondo is a fantastic veteran presence. Um, and it's a great upgrade for the point guard for the Clippers.
And then the next move here, we got LaMarcus Aldridge completed a buyout with San Antonio in the amount of 5.8 million. And the Miami Heat are expected to emerge as a front runner to sign the seven-time All-Star. And again, the NBA former superstars, I'm going to call them, getting released, joining contenders. Not really surprised with this one. Same thing happened with Blake Griffin and the Nets a
Yeah.
few weeks ago. Nothing really to say more than I guess that's a good pickup for Miami for their bench.
Yeah, yeah. If they do sign him, oh my gosh, that I love the veteran presence of
Hmm.
LaMarcus Aldridge. He's still a pretty good,
Hmm.
obviously not to the caliber that was
Of what he used to
before, but yeah, it would be a great addition for the Heat if they were able to pick him up in the
And
coming
then
years.
finally, renowned NBA champion Javel Mcgee goes to Denver from Cleveland for Isaiah Hardinson, a 2023 protected second round pick. through number 46 and an unprotected 2027 second round pick. I hope that guy becomes a superstar because that is in a very, very long time. Didn't even know teams could trade that far into the future.
Yeah,
Done.
it's crazy that we're sending 2027 picks now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Again, good trade. Denver made some really strong moves here to solidify their bench. I'm not going to take over Jokic's role there, but still good. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like the move. Obviously, just to trade for depth there. Hartenstein, not too much of a good player. He's all right, but Javel Mcgee is 100% an upgrade over him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this move for the depth, and if they're
Yeah.
looking to gear up and run for a title this year.
So that's all the trade action we got from yesterday. Again, I'll say it again. The best time in the NBA season is usually July 1st around 6 p.m. And then this day, the trade deadline, which is fantastic. You get all the sporting journalists around the American sports world tweeting about it. I like the moves the Raptors made. I really wish Lowry. I know it would suck to see Lowry go, but I really think that was the best. Unless they get him on a cheaper deal this offseason, I really don't see the reason to keep him.
Yeah.
Seeing what some of these other players got in return. But that's really it. Any final thoughts?
No, I also agree with you on the Raptors moves. I think they made some good moves. I think the Gary Trent Jr. move is actually an underrated move. I know
Yeah, I really like it.
Powell was well, but I think that if we're Gary Trent Jr. is an extremely underrated player. He was doing great things in Portland. I hope he brings them to Toronto. And hopefully we can lock him up for the future if he does play well while he's here, because he's a fantastic player. He's still young. He's 22.
Yeah,
And
Powell, some great moves. Big dunk against the Pacers, which is one of my favorite series when I really started watching basketball a lot with the Raptors. I remember watching them against Brooklyn 2 years before, and they got swept by the Wizards, which is embarrassing. But that 2016 run
yes.
was a lot of fun against the Pacers. He wore Cavaliers, which they fell short. That was the best year for me, really watching the NBA 2016. But aside from that, really good trade deadline, exciting again. Hopefully, we get an NBA Finals that goes to 7 games in overtime because that's what everybody wants.
Yes.
So thanks everybody for listening.
agree.
So this is the second the second episode tonight with basketball. Later next week, we'll be having an MLB preview, which I hope to have out on Wednesday, and then a Formula One Bahrain Grand Prix recap on Monday. So thank you everybody for listening, and enjoy the rest of your day. So that was good.